Hello, and welcome to Hedgehog Storytime, where I read my weird original fiction. The following story is part of the Mayhem Cerebrum project, linked to the playlist in the description below. Yes, you have to read them all. No, that is not a request. I really like this part. It's been a fair amount of time since I've done like a really nice, good character drama moment. And I think I'm pretty good at those, and I really like doing them. So this episode is kind of that. It's mind gamey. You know me, I love my mind games. We all love a good mind game here. So let's get into it. It's time for the bastard to bastard confrontation. This is Looks Like Rain, Part 2. The high-pitched whining noise filling Bake's head was what finally booted his consciousness back on. He hadn't remembered being knocked out, but it made sense in hindsight. The Malice had always been a dramatic bastard after all. His surroundings did not disappoint. He found himself in a plush velvet chair. Ugh, he hated the feeling of velvet. It made his skin crawl, smack dab in the middle of a lavishly decorated office. The dim lights flickered in time with the hum of the factory, and the heavy curtains were drawn across the windows. In front of him was an extremely large desk with not much on it except a single plaque that read, "The Boss." And that was when his eyes slid past the desk and onto the face of the thing behind it. He looked like a young boy with thick dishwater blonde hair, clad in shorts and suspenders, but he wasn't one. He sat sideways in his chair, his legs up on the armrest.
"So, finally awake, huh?"
asked the Malice, unconvincingly covering a yawn.
"Yeah, no thanks to your body horror goons."
Bake rubbed the back of his head.
"How can something with no muscle hit so damn hard?" "Oh, that's right. You can feel pain now. Rub it in, why don't ya?" "Okay, I will."
The Malice grinned, leaning forward.
"I bet you're wondering why I split you off specifically." "Not really. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Because I wanted to see just what was left of my old comrade."
The Malice continued as if he hadn't heard him.
"And I gotta say, wow. Just wow. I mean, I wasn't expecting much, but this is just pathetic."
Bake's face tightened.
"You want to say that again?" "Yeah, actually, I do. You're pathetic."
The Malice cackled as Bake glanced downward to where his hands were nearly shaking with anger.
"What? No witty retort?"
The Malice stood now, leaning towards him over the desk.
"That's unlike you. Is it because it's the truth?" You're thinking it too, aren't you? I mean, come on! The trickster I know could have made every sentient being in this entire reality think the factory was about to explode, and you could barely sneak in 3 people with a half-baked delusion. You're exaggerating. It would have been only half at most."
The Malice now walked around the desk, putting a small hand on his shoulder.
"You're right," he sighed. "Maybe the dead just look better from this side. The trickster was someone I admired, after all. A real god among gods, a shapeshifter who could be anything, take anything he wanted, drive anyone to utter madness. And now all that's left of him is a pasty twink with a really stupid-looking pair of
His sentence was cut off, because Bake's hands were around his skinny little neck.
"And whose fault is all this, huh? Who's the little cunt that dumped him off the good ship Point of No Return?"
But the Malice simply lost his shape entirely, briefly melting into a pile of goo between his fingers before immediately bouncing back across the room.
"I wouldn't be playing the blame game if I were you." He grinned devilishly. "I'm not the dirty thief who tried to make off with my secrets." "That's just all part of the game, isn't it?"
Bake asked.
"He just figured you were both playing it." "Oh, we were. And he lost."
The smile had dropped off the Malice's face, his long neck extended to look down at Bake.
"You always took shit too fucking seriously, Malum."
The smile returned.
"What can I say? It's how I have fun. If he wasn't prepared for what that entailed, then he shouldn't have played at all."
Bake flopped down again. All of the fight had gone out of him. It wasn't like there was anything he could really do, anyway. As he was now, the Malice could crush him like a bug at any time. Maybe that was what he wanted, ultimately, and the dismal half-life once and for all.
"So, does that make everything a game for you, then?"
Still, Bake continued talking, It was the only thing left to him at this point. The Malice returned to his side of the desk, but didn't sit.
Of course. At the end of the day, I'm just playing in the sandbox. I gotta say, though, this whole war plot line has introduced more twists than I was expecting. Like today, for example. I wasn't lying. I really was surprised by your little stunt. Was that the Morrigan's idea?
Pretty much, yeah.
I figured. You're not clever enough to come up with it on your own.
Gee, thanks.
Anytime, friend.
Bake sighed. So I suppose you'll capture the other two and then this little mission of ours ends, huh? Putting a hand to his chin, the Malice pretended to consider it carefully.
I always could,
he pontificated.
But like I said, I'm always playing games. You could have your revenge match, if you wanted.
Internally, Bake chuckled. In some ways, a child's body suited him best. The Malice loved games, but he wasn't very good at them. Still, he won just often enough to make things inconvenient for the rest of the cosmos. However, this might be an opportunity. The only one he might get.
Sure, it's not like I've got anything to lose. Don't be ridiculous. There's always something to lose.
Pedantic little shit. What's this game of yours?
Just a little bet. A side wager in the grand scheme of things. You like those, don't you? Or, well, he did.
Some things don't change.
You're a lot angrier than he was. You know that?
Get to the point. Bake stood and slammed his palms against the desk. Then, when the Malice laughed, his point immediately proven, he plopped back down in the chair, trying to hide his glare. The Malice leaned forward on the desk, trying to regain his composure.
Sorry. Oh, you're just so easy to goad. It's really hilarious, actually. Anyway, the wager is simple. I'll even let you pick which side you're betting for. Right now, your two buddies are scrambling around inside my factory like rats in a maze. They're heading for a very specific destination.
Do you know, or are you fishing for the answer?
The core, of course. That's the only hope two small flesh creatures have of shutting down the operation on their own.
Okay, so you know their plan. Could you stop gloating for 1 second and tell me what the damn bet is?
The bet is whether they'll destroy it or not.
What kind of game is that? You'll just crush them if they try. The Malice raised his hands in surrender.
I won't stop them from making it there. Well, much, at least.
Then of course they fucking will.
Are you so sure about that?
The Malice chuckled.
Because when they get there, I think they're going to be in for a real nasty surprise.
They had abandoned the conveyor belt a while back. It forced them out into the open, and the hands had stopped morphing out of the ground anyway. They were still nominally following its infuriatingly winding path towards the center of the factory. It was still the best way forward, after all. Valky continued forth with divine, if quiet, purpose, but Okeen hesitated a little. Looks like they're going to leave us alone for a while. Nodding, Valky was too focused on the path ahead of them to meet his gaze. I'm sure they're probably distracted. We should go back for him, Okeen muttered, without quite meaning to. Now Valky did turn back, though it was difficult to make out her expression in the increasing darkness. He knew the risks of coming here. Okeen stopped walking, forcing Valky to as well. What does that matter? Bake didn't even want to come, but we made him do it. He was our only way in. He was finally useful. For a moment, all that could be heard were the creaks and hum of the factory. The metal floor vibrated under his feet. What? Valky asked, as Okeen stared at her. That was incredibly callous, even for you. It was the truth. She tried to end the conversation by turning away, but he grabbed her arm to prevent her from leaving. Would you do the same to me? He asked her, if I had outlived my usefulness and it was for the greater good. She froze. If it was you or the cosmos, Okeen braced himself for the bitter words, but they didn't come. You'd what? That will never happen, so there's no point in thinking about it. Valky, answer the question. She finally turned back around. I don't know what I'd do, she admitted. But it's all right to abandon Bake. You're trying to make me out to be a hypocrite, she huffed. I don't know anything about this hypothetical situation you propose. However, in the case of Bake, going back for him means directly facing an anomaly. Also, he's bought us some time to make it to the core unmolested. Also, you think he's an asshole. Yes, there's that too. But for the record, you talk as if he's in need of rescue. I haven't underestimated him. I fully expect that he'll be able to worm his way out of his predicament all by himself. I guess I hadn't thought of that, O'Keen admitted. She sighed. You're not wrong, though. I hadn't really considered how opposed you'd been to this operation. It was callous of me. O'Keen shrugged, not wanting to jinx this rare moment of reflection for her. Actually, it might have really gotten to her, as she didn't move anywhere and her face tightened. Look, if blowing up this factory doesn't somehow free him, I will personally volunteer for the rescue team. We'll do it together. O'Keen smiled. Now, let's get going. I don't think even Bake could distract the malice forever. For a while now, the passage had been getting narrower, the darkness deepening around them, which made it difficult to step over the various pipes, cords, and bits of flesh that had fallen off the belt. But now, just ahead of them, was a bright orange glow, and it looked like the grease-stained walls widened. O'Keen glanced over to Valky, and even she seemed a little unnerved. He didn't know what it was, but something was telling him that whatever was waiting for them up there really wasn't good. Yet, onward they trekked, despite the sudden heaviness he felt in his limbs. As he suspected, the passage terminated in a large, round room that also seemed to be the destination for several other conveyors. They took turns trundling their now stitched-together cargo into the center where... Beside him, Valky gasped. She was staring up towards the ceiling where, high above them, a pair of mechanical supports clamped in place a glass jar. Inside was something... Well, O'Keen didn't really know exactly what it was. It was pitch black, and bubbled and frothed there in the jar. He wouldn't quite describe it as a liquid, but it certainly wasn't a gas either. Regardless, there was a sizable opening in the bottom, and the substance was dripping, floating, down to the amalgamous flesh below. As soon as it landed on its target, it wrapped and morphed itself around the materials, nearly consuming them. The way the amorphous mass moved, it was almost like the creatures. The Malice's army. Just as they'd suspected, the factory was making soldiers. Its task complete, the conveyor would again shudder forward once more, so that the creatures would be sucked into a tube and sent fate knows where. O'Keen was more than concerned about the process, but Valky's eyes still hadn't left that jar. I don't believe it, she muttered to herself. What? O'Keen asked. The core, she stuttered out. It's made of sin.
It's made of what?
Bake lurched forward in his chair. The Malice just continued to grin at him.
You heard me, he jeered. And don't act so surprised. You should be more familiar with it after all. Of fucking course I am.
He ran a hand through his hair. But just
why? Why bother with how unstable it is? Yeah, I mean, it's not a matter of if, it's when. And when it blows up in your fucking face, it's gonna get everywhere. Sure, but why should I care? I'm just gonna remake everything anyway.
His smile turned a bit lopsided.
Besides, releasing more sin into the cosmos might honestly be helpful. Helpful?
Bake fished, wondering how much he could get him to spill. The Malice's face lit up, his expression fitting his face for once.
Of course! Why do you think I'm using it in the first place? Sure, I could painstakingly create every single soldier by hand, but then I wouldn't have time to do anything else, like crushing the Morrigan's pathetic resistance or gloating about it to you. Very essential. See? You get it. Sin can act as a glue of sorts. It can't truly create stuff from scratch like I can, but the stuff seems to have a mind of its own, doesn't it? So you're using this factory as a shortcut. Instead of making everything yourself, you're just using sin to glue bits of shit together. Wow, I'm surprised you managed to put that together with how much of an idiot you are. Man, you must be really confident I'm losing this bet since you're spewing all your secrets. He giggled. Honestly, at this point, I'm just having fun. For old time's sake, you know? But all right, the game.
Clapping his hands together, the Malice was once again all business.
Like I said, I'll let you go first. So what do you think? Will they destroy the core? Or won't they?
Bake sat back, nodding.
Now this makes more sense. The game isn't really going on up here, it's going on down there.
The Malice's grin widened.
You're pitting them against each other. Maybe. But I also want to know what you think.
Me? He played it a little coy.
Oh, well, you see, it's actually really simple.
We need to destroy it. Valky's solution did not deviate from the original plan in the slightest. Okeen looked upwards at the glass cage that contained that malicious, hate-filled substance. In actuality, there was no way it could have had a consciousness, so it couldn't feel, let alone hate. But still, it wriggled in such a menacing way that Okeen couldn't help but feel otherwise. If that really is sin, like you say, then if we destroy the core, we'll just let it loose. At this amount, who knows how many realities it'll corrupt? It's a sacrifice that needs to be made. Valky explained patiently. It may corrupt this little corner of the cosmos, but think of the damage it'll do if left alone. Well, what if we don't need to destroy this factory? Okeen asked. What if we can still win with it still standing? Valky's fist tightened for every minute they waited, for every amalgamate of sin that was completed. Each one was a chance for one of their comrades to meet a grisly end. What do you think? She asked him. He hadn't been expecting that. Well, do you really think that the Morrigan would send us, the most powerful ally she has, on this near-suicide mission if it wasn't paramount? I mean, of course not, but if there's a chance, what? A chance that nobody gets hurt? Say somehow we do win this war, even with the factory still pumping out endless soldiers. How many Seraphim do you think will lose their lives in the process? Even if every mortal life is spared, someone still gets hurt. And even that's in an ideal cosmos that doesn't exist. If we don't get rid of this core now, we will lose everything. She took a step towards him. Give me your spear, she commanded. My sword won't reach. No. Still, after everything she just said, he wouldn't give in. Why not? She demanded. I'm not going to let you do this, was all he said.
You're really going to do this? The Malist asked. You really think they're going to do it? Would I lie?
For once, Bake got to be the one sitting in the chair and grinning slyly.
Well, yes, you would, but why? You don't think they're going to realize what it is and Okeen's going to make some big speech about leaving the factory and winning the war with sheer gumption alone?
Oh no, he definitely will. Bake's expression hadn't dropped an inch.
So what gives?
Bake shrugged. Simple, really, he said.
I know Valky better than that.
And then the factory exploded. In the end, Okeen had insisted on doing it himself, muttering something about not wanting Valky to be responsible. She didn't begrudge him that. She only cared that it got done. They didn't have to worry about Bake either. He emerged from the rubble a little singed, but otherwise unharmed. He was also grinning like a madman. Valky didn't like it. It was the happiest she thought she'd ever seen him. There was no sign of the malice. He'd probably decided to cut his losses and hightail it out of there. Either that or he just didn't want to see Bake's smug complexion. Valky almost wished she could visit the ruins of the place, but they had long since been incorporated into other realities. It had simply been that long. The thought made her uneasy, what with all the sin that had been ground into its bones. But so far, no harm had come to the greater cosmos, so she threw the thought aside. It was a good memory for her, one of those rare times when good simply succeeded. There was only one thing she was embarrassed about. If Okeen hadn't pointed it out, Valky was sure she wouldn't have even thought about the consequences of destroying the core. She would have just done it, and no damage control could have been performed afterwards, as Okeen had insisted. Valky had a one-track mind. She would freely admit that. But that's why she needed Okeen. He would think of things she never would, perspectives she wouldn't have considered. She had become so reliant on this that with him gone, she felt like a part of herself had been torn out. A more reflective person might have considered this revelation. A stronger one may have tried to rectify it on their own. But all Valky thought was that maybe she should go to the Borisov boy.